Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast, where every week Danny and Maura Vega discuss topics that help families live a healthy and active lifestyle with their little ones, including nutrition and training, peaceful parenting, education, and mindset. To stay up to date, make sure to hit subscribe on this podcast and check out the blog at www.fatfueled.family. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at DannyVega.ms, at fatfueledmom, and at fatfueledkids, and Fat Fueled Family on YouTube. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast. I am Danny Vega, and I'm joined by my tolerant wife, Maura, who I kind of feel like deja vu because I just said this 5 minutes ago. How are you, my love?
I'm good.
Yeah, we had a turbulent morning. We had a huge fight with crying, screaming, storming out of the house, and it's all better.
Storming?
I didn't storm. No, you're right. I didn't storm
point,
today.
it was kind of...
It's just kind of like, I just need to go. Let me just go.
Like, just go.
Yeah.
Just leave.
But then when I came back from jiu-jitsu, I was feeling better. And then when I saw you at the gym, you were kind of feeling better. So,
yeah, I was feeling better.
But we've already wasted enough time because we had some technical difficulties. I'm not the best with the media and technical stuff. So anyways, this week's two guests we're super excited to have because they run an Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter where they share the latest ketogenic research, their favorite recipes. They answer all people's questions about dietary fat, calories, fiber, sweeteners. They also have a live Q&A every morning at 9 a.m. on Instagram. And their Keto for Normies podcast where they have inspiring, in-depth conversations with people like Danny Vega, Maura Vega. They've been publishing helpful resources, developing delicious recipes, and offering friendly advice to people striving to live healthier, happier lives since 2016 after they realized their results from the keto diet were too good not to share. They're two of our favorite people in this community, and we're proud to call them friends. Welcome to the show, Matt and Mega from Keto Connect. What's up, guys?
What's going on? Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Did you write that down?
He did.
I sure did, man.
Okay. No, he memorized it. He's been practicing
All morning.
all morning.
I gotta get this speech right.
This morning.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm like, just write it down, Danny.
No.
Well, we're excited to be here. We're excited to chat.
I know this is our first four-person conversation, so this should be interesting.
Fun. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's get into it, guys. Number one, what is the most critical problem you are currently trying to solve?
That is a great question. The problem I've been thinking about the most, and I feel like we have an active role, we can contribute a little bit because we do have a pretty big following now, is the diet wars. And what
Oh, yeah.
like a lot of it is actually starting to get into like legislation and like what should be allowed. They're like thinking about reducing carbon footprints. We shouldn't have cows, etc., things like that. It's actually starting to get quite alarming. And so I was watching actually this morning on YouTube a few videos about the Beyond Meat Burger. And it's at no point in any of it is it talking about actual nutrition and what's important for human health. It's just all about like, it tastes kind of like meat and it's not made of meat. So that's good. And I think so many people just think on such a simplistic level like that. I used to think like that too. I didn't really understand what you need to be healthy. So I feel like educating people on that is my most active project at the moment.
And then mine's maybe a little less serious. So I'm not really someone who thinks too far into the future and like is actively trying to do something at all times to better the earth. But I am trying to better myself. So right now I'm pregnant. I'm 16 weeks. So my biggest thing that I'm trying to tackle at this point is to bring like a beautiful baby into this world that isn't compromised in any way, has like the strongest genetics, will grow up to be a basketball player and in the NBA, of course.
Yes.
And just like not come out with like, you know, a missing limb or something. Like I am just fearful of everything.
You can't even say stuff like that.
I know, knock on wood.
Miss Mega.
No, this is the internet, man. You look for it. You're gonna find it.
Don't Google
You're
anything, by the way. It's
No,
just
I know.
bad.
It's so scary. You could go down a rabbit hole. But right now, like my main focus and energy is going into just like providing the best possible outcome for a child I'm going to raise and bring into this world.
Well, you guys are 10 steps ahead, probably like 100 or a million, because when I got pregnant with Desmond, we were not paleo yet. We were starting to kind of learn about it. But I mean, my first pregnancy, I mean, Desmond is a miracle child, really. I was
Caribe. Remember the Caribe?
stressed out. Yeah. And I just worked in a really, really high stress environment. I was probably mad every single day for like 9 months. So stressed just because of the work environment that I lived in. It was just very stressful. And then eating whatever the heck I wanted, guys. So you guys are doing it a good thing. And I know I get that. With Dean, I was way more psycho, of course. I was doing the Weston A. Price diet for pregnant and nursing moms, doing CrossFit. But I feel like if I got pregnant now, not that I'm not pregnant, don't even share your water with me.
Yeah, because my sister just got pregnant for the third time. So we're like,
yeah. And she's always pregnant when we're always pregnant at the same time, me and Danny's sister. So I'm like, okay, I'm so happy for you. Stay away. But it's funny because me and Danny were talking about this. And like, even though obviously, not that I don't want to have a baby, I'm not a good pregnant.
I don't want to have a baby.
I'm not a good pregnant person, and I can barely handle the 2 cycles that I have already. But at the same time, you almost feel like it's a responsibility. Like, wow, look at all these really like
we have to bring more good people.
We have to bring more good people into this world. It's like we gotta like even it out or something. I'm like, geez, maybe we should just because like look at this, what's happening. Like
we have an obligation. I get it.
It's like an obligation, yeah. So that's awesome. I love that you guys are like, and if I did get pregnant, I would totally be psycho, psycho.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna get into that.
I probably wouldn't even eat out for like 9 months. I'd be like, nope.
It will definitely change my diet if she gets pregnant, because we'll be all like whipped into this like, you know, real strict, where not real strict. I think the focus would just be a lot more on what are we getting out of our food versus, you know, like what are we not supposed to eat. I think it would just be much more focusing on nutrient dense stuff.
Like nutrients. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to just go back to what Matt said, because when we had Pete Ballerstedt on the podcast, you know, it was interesting because we're all in this little echo chamber where all we're talking about is keto, 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 keto. And we, in our minds, maybe you guys know, but for us, a lot of the time we have to like step back because we tend to assume that people already have the diet part figured out. Like, now let's talk about sustainability. And what Pete said was, it was interesting because he's like, no, we're not there yet. Like, we have to educate people on this diet because first of all, with the sustainability part, you start to talk about things that don't affect people as much personally. So number one, they're not as engaged. And number two, it's a much harder battle and it's a much more technical battle. So I think you're right, Matt. Like it's definitely, we have to be out there kind of showing through our stories, through the content that we share, not quite preaching, but just kind of showing like what it looks like to eat a low carb, high fat diet with lots and lots and lots of animal products. So definitely 2 really cool problems to work on. And I think you guys, you're both going to do your part to you know, fix both of them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's hard for me to foresee a future where we're not like educating people on what to eat because we're so far down the path of just eating processed foods. It's like, that's like, you know, a couple 100-year project. But I'm worried, like, by the time we get there, when we all kind of know what we should be eating, are we going to just do like irreparable damage to the food supply to where we can't even eat healthfully anymore? Like, you know, like if the vegans get their way, there's no return to actual nutrient dense food. It's going to be like you have your own farm like off in the hills and you're like growing like basically the way marijuana is grown. Like you're growing your own food. You have like a cow and you're actually living a healthy life. It's going to be harder and harder to do.
That's my fear. Yeah, that's my fear too. With all this, because man, the vegan, gosh, I hate to call it an agenda, but it truly is. It's very strong, and it hasn't. I don't even know if I was talking to you or where I was hearing it the other day. I don't know, but like most diets fade. You know what I mean? Like paleo and stuff, but veganism doesn't. Like it's still very strong, and
it's more than a
terrifying.
Diet.
It's more of a diet. It's like an identity. It's like this ethical, well, what they think is ethical because it's very misinformed. But yeah, that's terrifying to me. Like the fact that they're going to want to be taxing me and just making it harder to get our hands on these things.
Yeah, and I just read 6 schools in California are adopting a vegan diet for school lunches. And like that's fine, right? Because likely it's more healthy than like fish sticks and like mashed potatoes and the corn, that they're cooking in terrible oils. But what about just like better food quality and like whole foods?
Well, you at least still have a choice in the matter. You don't have to send your kids there. Like, I'm worried to the point where we no longer have a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it is sad because, people like us were in the know. So we'll be the first to be like, straight up, let's get some land and let's get some pigs and some chickens. Oh, yeah. But then by the time it really gets out to the general population and probably the people who need it the most, you're right, it's probably going to be really, really hard to find, and then maybe even people like us will have to be the suppliers and we'd have to try to feed others after we've fed ourselves. And that's, we're always going to come first,
I'm incapable of that. I could never have my own farm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a farm, but I would like to have a farm type lifestyle where we have like, kind of like what Mike Munsell does, I
like
think we can handle that.
Some pigs, right. Yeah.
So let's go back to this, back to nutrition stuff. You guys are a lot, you're both a lot like us in that you're always experimenting with new tweaks and ingredients and food sources. I'm curious to hear if there's like an approach or a type of food that has stood the test of time for you guys in the past 3 years or so.
3 years? Honestly, not really. Like eggs, I guess, have always just been like, everyone knows those are healthy. We always eat those. They're easily accessible. But no, I guess like when we first started doing keto, which was like close to 4 years ago, we were more just thinking macros because I honestly didn't have that much of an understanding of health like I do now and nutrition and what's really required. Like, why am I eating certain things? I just recently, maybe in the past year, started looking into that. So I guess like the most recent, and Mega being pregnant is the big impetus for us to do most of this stuff. Mm-hmm. To focus more on the nutrient density and what you should have, as opposed to just always focusing on what you shouldn't have, because that's what most guidelines are, like avoid these things. But we've been adding organ meats, bone marrow, seafood, I guess a little bit. That's mostly the big ones, right?
Yeah. And then like, and you guys do this, I see a lot with Dean and Desmond and yourselves, like you've cut out erythritol and like stevia really. And we recently, like we've been incorporating, if we're going to have a snack, it might be a little higher in net carbs, but like it's sweetened with a little honey and the rest of the ingredients are literally whole foods. So it's not just like slammed with a ton of fiber, like, soluble corn fiber and erythritol. So that's been a really big change for me that I'm loving. And I know you do that with the boys. So like definitely something we would implement with our kids as well.
Yeah, I think that's context dependent too, though.
Yeah.
Like Mega's trying to gain a little weight, focusing more on nutrients. Then trying to lose weight, that's your only real focus. Then I think there's more of a case to be made for like erythritol, things like that.
Keto, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because the stuff that's like sweetened with honey sometimes, like I had someone send me something about one of Ali Miller's recipes. Like it's not that sweet. I'm like, I know it's not that sweet. It's actually not as sweet as if you add some of these things, but so it kind of makes it easier that's what we've noticed. Like our palates are so much more sensitive now. Like the boys can eat like 100% dark. Like you gave them a fat bomb yesterday.
Yeah.
That was
not
even
at all.
sweetened with anything. It was just 100% chocolate or something.
Desmond doesn't like those, but Dean
Desmond's more of a tough crowd, but Dean will tear it up.
That's one other thing I think you should probably factor in is like the palatability, because like you're saying, a lot of the desserts or like the keto bars, like Quest bars, they're really hyper palatable. They're easy to just eat a bunch of them. But when you do, like we've been getting these paleo crunch ones, that are just have like a little honey in them, and they're they taste worse than Quest bars.
Yeah,
but food palatability wise, they're not as palatable. Like you can't just slam like 6 of them.
But satiating and not like rough on your stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna look into those.
Yeah, we got to look into those. We find some similar ones at Costco. All right. Well, we were so excited to hear about your pregnancy, and we couldn't wait to talk to you about it because we know you've put a lot of thought into this. So first of all, what have you guys been like reading or watching to learn about any dietary changes that you would make during and after the pregnancy?
So I think the book we started with before we actually got pregnant was Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols. And then Matt had been doing a lot of research and sending me sites from the Weston A. Price Foundation. So those were the two main resources starting out. Since then, we've just gotten more books, right? From Sally, what's her name?
Sally Fallon Morell, like the head of the Weston A. Price Foundation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they've been a great read. And then I just started reading this book. I'm like a quarter of the way, and it's called Expecting Better. And it's really fascinating because she talks about the evidence that doesn't really, like, there's no evidence to support cutting out caffeine or cutting out alcohol. So during her entire pregnancy, she drank like a glass of wine a day and up to 4 cups of coffee. And so I'm finding that like reading something that totally opposes what I believe to be like a great, a great pregnancy way is just, it's a good way to like challenge what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Oh, it's probably better for your sanity too, that you can see someone, bucking the system and nothing happen. That's really cool.
Yeah. I guess you could go either way. You could be like, oh, wow, now I'm just going to have a little wine every now and then. Or you could be like, this woman's insane. But,
that was more of my thought.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. Like, you could get away with 6 cups of coffee a day. I'm like, well, how does that make sense at all? Like, I haven't seen the studies, but it doesn't make sense to me.
So there's no negatives to it, but there's no benefits, right? So it's like, why even from the research she's done?
Yeah, there could be negatives.
Is it low birth weight? I think caffeine, the only thing is low birth weight, right?
That, I mean, from her studies, and all hers were like in Europe. So in Europe, drinking a ton of caffeine and even wine when you're pregnant is normal. So like you're not even looked at wrong. So I like that she used those studies as opposed to like the ones in the US where we're all scared to like admit it and, share that type of information.
I'm not scared to admit it. I drank caffeine. I probably tried to watch my afternoon intake, but I didn't stop drinking coffee throughout my pregnancies, and my kids are actual giants when they're born. So that's and another thing that I did, like, how they say don't eat sushi? Well, with Dean's pregnancy, I was like, okay, guys, whatever. But if I have McDonald's, it's okay. Like, no, leave me alone.
Right.
Eat sushi.
Yeah, there's a lot of like misconceptions and things people think are terrible for pregnancy that don't have that much backing behind them.
Yeah.
But like, what are you staying away from?
What am I staying away from?
Not that much, I guess. Really.
No, I mean, like the things I would stay away from on a keto diet generally. So like McDonald's, I mean, like fast food, I'm staying away from. We're just cooking a lot more at home. And then like, obviously, even the carb cravings I had first trimester, like I upped my butternut squash intake. I upped my cherry tomatoes. Like I fed that craving without like needing to have donuts and Rice Krispie treats. Like we had a comment on one of our videos, and the woman,
I love this one.
The woman was like, during my pregnancy, all I could eat was root beer and apple pie
and bacon.
Oh I'm like, no, I'm sure you could have eaten more, bro. Like,
yeah, that's such a cop out.
Yeah,
for real. Well, that's an awesome segue. That's an awesome segue into my next question, because I was going to talk about like, of course, since we're always doing things against the grain, we've experienced our fair share of negativity when it comes to how we feed our kids, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate during pregnancy, from a lot of times from strangers and mainly family. And I'm sure you guys, having such a large following, I mean, have you gotten any type of backlash or concern about keto pregnancy? And how do you guys handle that stuff?
Yeah, everyone has an opinion, I guess, because, people have pregnancies and children. And when you're doing something that they didn't do, maybe they feel some kind of way about that. But I think, yeah. So just being kind of open-minded, I think is good. But I think the main one is like raw milk. That's like the number one concern people have, is like raw milk has listeria, etc. You can like read info about that. It doesn't really, is basically the takeaway if you read up on it. But what I'm thinking about more is like the stuff that we do after the baby's born now. I'm like really getting more into that, like what you feed it. Like, does baby food make sense? I'm questioning. I don't know if that's a thing babies should eat. Do they eat baby food, or do they just eat normal food, kind of like chopped up a little bit? I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure along the way there's going to be a lot of concerns about what we do.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing has been like the raw dairy. So, I mean, we're also battling with that. And like, I mean, you guys are good people to ask. How and when did you decide like, hey, we're going to have full exposure of the boys? Like, do we want to share everything, from
that too.
From the day the baby's born on YouTube, and show the face, and like show just literally everything. It's a lot to take in, because everyone's so excited, right? They want to see the baby. They're so excited, and it's like, well, it's kind of intimate at the same time and personal, and like some things are nice to be kept to yourself, right?
There was one comment that had like a really good perspective on it. It was like, is it good for a child to grow up and watch videos of themselves and then like kind of adjust their like hand gestures and just like, always watching themselves in a video, just growing up, seeing videos and like seeing how they act and then trying to change their behavior based on that? I don't think that's great. So I'm trying to think of, like, a lot of people said the child should just have a same role in your videos as Julius does. Like, you show him once in a while, and then that's it. Then
we block him in a crate. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Well, first of all, just on the raw milk thing, I drank massive amounts of raw milk during the beginning of my second pregnancy with Dean. At that point, again, we had been paleo already. I had done a lot of research. I was all the Weston A. Price stuff, all of it. And so I knew it wasn't bad, and it has a lot of benefits. It helps with nausea. So I don't find
plus a lot of those comments they're so outdated because there wasn't refrigeration back in the day, and we have refrigeration now. So even the pasteurization is not necessary if you have refrigeration,
Yeah.
But with the boys, since it's a different situation for us, we kind of did that where it's like pictures of Desmond. This is what he's eating. Maybe a few videos here and there when he was 1 and 2. We didn't have the following that we have now. And when he got older, when he was like 4 or 5, that's when we started to like ask him if we could record him, and it's very simple because Dean most of the time doesn't want to be recorded. Now, when he says, "Hey, record a video," I'm super pumped about it. So I'm like, yeah, let's get him on there. But I think it's a delicate balance because you want to, number one, I've never seen a case where there's been like the whole pregnancy, the birth, all that, that's never happened. And not to say that, you need to be the people to do it, but it would be cool to do that. But it's true. You gotta judge, you gotta protect your family, so it's, that would be something that we would have to put thought into, like if we were in that situation.
Yeah, I do feel some responsibility to share stuff because, like you're saying, there's not that many people. There's not that much data on people, doing diets like this long term. I guess there is like quite a bit of it if you look back, like ancestrally. But yeah, I don't know, like how to, like, I'd also like to share information on how to raise children. Not that I know how to do that, but like kind of learning as we go. That's basically what we did with keto, though. We didn't really know what we were doing at the start either, and we learned as we went, shared along the way.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason why you guys have grown this following, because you've just been so, upfront and real. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
All right. So here's something that has stuck with me since our last conversation on your podcast. And then another conversation I had with Matt at the Metabolic Health Summit is this idea of sensory specific satiety. So, like the more often you eat something, the less variety you have, the less likely you are to overeat. And it's funny because Matt and I were both like, it can't taste too good. You basically have to eat things that kind of taste okay. Because if you're having all these new things and if it tastes too good, you're going to overeat, So you're both always trying out new recipes. But have you noticed that phenomenon when you're eating the same thing over time?
Yeah. So I think that's like, if you do the carnivore diet, that's a lot of the reason that works in some respects, I would say. Like, you're just not changing up the food a lot. And so there's like what's natural. Once you start getting outside of what's natural, like just these super palatable foods that no one really can control their hunger around, like Snickers bars. Humans weren't designed to eat Snickers bars in moderation. So it's really hard to do that. So when you limit your food to what's natural, like a keto diet generally does that, but then you throw in stuff like keto baked goods and stuff that will definitely throw a wrench in it. But yeah, I'm a pretty big believer in that. But as far as like what we do, we create a lot of recipes. We actually have some help with creating our recipes now, so it's not as much of an issue. But yeah, when we were first starting, we were just like tasting recipes nonstop. So it was definitely harder to stick to the plan. But I don't know. What do you think? I think tasting recipes doesn't get in the way too much for us anymore?
No, because we've learned to like block it off. So like, for example, tomorrow we're going to do 5 or 6 recipe videos in a day. And then we're set for like a month or 2. And that just makes it so like we're not constantly eating. And, you know, we're not, whenever we like make a batch of cookies, like we'll freeze them or like, you know, we'll give them away, but we're not consuming this stuff regularly. And we always say that, like, this is not like we make it, we share it, and that's like a part of what we do. But like, we're continuously adapting our diets, and we're not just constantly eating coconut flour chocolate chip cookies, you know?
Yeah.
Very cool. I think like with the mug cakes, that would be a great example of something that it tastes good, but you eat it all the time. So there's a set start and end to it. And you're kind of like, okay, that's good. That hit the spot.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we make those. Another thing is nut butter packets.
Yeah,
this is my new thing, because it's just 2 tablespoons in a pouch. And for me, nut butter's back in play, because when you have the jar and a spoon.
Don't even come at me, Danny. We know you put the almond butter back.
Well, how about, you know what? It's funny because you were saying this whole thing about the cookies, and I was like, now Mega's not relatable because I would have eaten all the cookies.
Yeah, Danny can do it with cookies.
If the cookies are here, I'm going to eat the cookies for sure.
Yeah. I actually got mad at him the other day because we made chocolate chip blondies for the kids, and I woke up the next morning and
they were gone.
He always it's always so offensive though, like because he's like, I left you a piece, but you should see what he always leaves. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like he's like, I left some. I'm like, that's like if he ever leaves some almond butter or something in the jar, it's like you should have just thrown it away, bro. Like you really thanks for leaving me a half teaspoon. Thanks a lot.
See, we have enough stuff where I can strategically just like eat a little bit of a lot of different things and she'll never notice.
Dude, until I do. And I'm like, when did you eat all of like, you know, the nut butter packets? And he'll be like, it was like a week ago. And I was like, yeah, I guess I don't look enough. But he'll hide wrappers and like keep it in, you know, his office. It's like too much.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hide food. Danny's been hiding some treats in here too, which is hilarious. But I have a stash too, because if not, I mean, and it's not just Danny.
I'm hiding them from the boys mostly. If you ever need to come in here for these keto bricks or this fat butter.
We had a friend actually recommend these like lockers for the fridge with combinations.
It was Aaron.
I'm 100% going to get them to block Danny and my children from eating everything at once, because I swear, like the grocery bill, it's starting to it's on fleek right now. Like that thing is serious. I can't even afford another kid right now. Like these kids, I mean, Desmond is just like growing, and so it's crazy.
Desmond's crazy.
Like he'll have like a steak, and then he wants like a snack right away. He's like, "Can I have a snack?"
We went to a Brazilian steakhouse like a few weeks ago, and by the time we got home, they were asking for food, and they had just put down pounds of meat. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's I used to be like that too. I remember.
Yeah, I think we all used to be like that, and then we get old and like slow down, and
Oh yeah, totally. That's so funny. All right, well, so you both have looked a lot into the micronutrient stuff, which is a fascination of ours as well. And ironically, the recommendations, like for the daily, like the RDAs, they seem to be higher for a lot of things that don't seem to matter as much when you're keto, and much lower than they should probably be with some of the more essential vitamins. Where do you think that we're missing out with respect to vitamins and minerals, and how have you tried to address them?
Well, I think the most interesting thing with the micronutrients and minerals is the bioavailability of them, which we don't really have that good of info on it. So like when you're getting magnesium from kale compared to magnesium from meat, like there's a huge difference in bioavailability of them. So like if you get, I don't know, like 400 milligrams of magnesium from kale, how much of that is actually like available? Absorbed. Yeah, is available to your body. But as far as like, I haven't looked at the RDAs, honestly. I know the RDAs, they're formed on like the context of a standard American diet and what 50% of the population would be not deficient with. So like that doesn't seem like a great way to do it, but I guess I can't really think of another way to do it. But like the things were really low as far as the recommendations go is the fat soluble vitamins, mainly like A, D, those are the big ones, K2. And like, I don't know what the RDA, I know for vitamin D, it's like, is it 400 IUs a day, which is just crazy low. It's like stepping out in the sun for 5 seconds.
And the vitamin A, vitamin A too, you're right. Those were the 3 that when you had Frank Tefano on, I was like zooming in on those. And that's why today on my story, I was like, maybe you guys could help me. Where the heck can I find some row that doesn't make me have to get a second mortgage on my house? Because I would love to.
I mean, we just bought some from Whole Foods, but yeah.
It's expensive, yeah.
It's so expensive.
I just did it because she's pregnant. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. No. But I think like a local fish market is the best bet for that, but it's hard. Yeah, Frank is like, he works in the restaurant industry, so he knows how to source stuff. We can't really do that. But I think like making an emphasis of eating vitamin A rich foods, which is really just like organ meats, mainly liver. So we've been doing that once a week since Mega's pregnant.
How do you guys eat your liver?
We just like saute it with garlic, shallots, and bacon and a ton of seasoning. And it tastes really, really good.
Tastes okay.
Oh, so I mean, that's a good starting point for most people, you know.
And then you gotta hide that in burgers for me.
I hide it in burgers, and she actually likes
bacon. Yeah, you did one with heart, liver, and the bacon is the key because it covers it all up. That's good.
Oh, this is we were getting ground beef, right? Cut with beef liver for a while, which is a good way to do it. But I think the RDAs, like, well, who were they created by? Like just a group of men, you know, like same as the Constitution, and that's like everything's so outdated. And I think we're not, like, the government obviously and the RDA guidelines aren't progressing along with newer research, right?
Well, it takes so long to make any kind of changes.
Sure. But the big ones are fat soluble vitamins. And the way we just recommend, I mean, people on the keto diet, I feel like they understand that, you know, eating fatty meats is the best source of getting that. And a lot of people have been talking about cod liver oil lately, and we always recommend that.
And I think one important thing to note, too, is the difference between the plant forms and the animal forms. A lot of people, I didn't know that until like a year ago, basically.
Yeah.
So, if you're eating the plant form of the vitamins, like beta carotene in kale or carrots or whatever, it converts at a really low rate to actual vitamin A. So what you want is the animal forms of vitamin A that don't need to be converted.
Which is retinol.
Or all the fat-soluble vitamins. Yeah. So that's a distinction. Because when you Google, like, high vitamin A foods, it's like, oh, carrots, top of the list. But it's not really how it works.
And then even with like my prenatal vitamins, like the vitamin A in the prenatal vitamins that I was taking was from beta carotene, and that converts at the highest rate, 9% in your body. And some people can't even convert it. So I'm not even getting what I think I'm getting, what my body needs.
Yeah. I actually can't, because we had our DNA tested, and I cannot have vegan. It's not DHA, but because it's called what, ALA? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, the omega-3s from the flax,
right?
And
like
stuff.
I cannot convert that, so I literally cannot be a vegan. I have to have omega-3s from fish oil. I'm incapable of converting the vegan type. So yeah, I know there's so much misinformation about this, and it's hard. It's like an uphill battle against even within keto, like people and their vegetables. I don't know. It drives me crazy, to be honest. It really drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't understand why you're so obsessed with vegetables.
Yeah, her
so
like
confused.
her post when she got bloated after like a few days of eating vegetables.
Post is like over a year old.
It's 56 weeks old, and she just got comments on it today.
It comes back to haunt me every now and again. Like, oh, you got the fiber. I'm like, enjoy your fiber and all that stuff that happens. Good luck.
Yeah. That's a real strong conventional wisdom one. People just like assume vegetables are really healthy. I don't know. I've like today we had a video about eating spinach and kale and stuff, and I really like questioned that a lot. Like I can get behind sweet potatoes and squash and like, these big things that are actually somewhat calorically dense, but I don't know when anyone would just like walk upon some spinach and kale and chow down historically.
Yeah, we were watching a really good rock climbing documentary the other day, and the one rock climber, and what they're doing is incredible. Yeah. Like they're climbing 3,200. They're in the Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah,
they're climbing like the highest peak ever. Right, it's really difficult to do. This dude brings kale, like. I'm like, what are you? And they have kashi cereal. And it's like, this is not how you fuel your body for like days of just hours of grueling work. So it's like fascinating.
Like an F-bomb would be great.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think.
But you know what though? This is something that I would love to see. And I was talking to Ben Pukolsky about it the other day, which I don't think it's really possible to really fully test it. But I can almost guarantee that the perception he has is affecting the way his body processes the food. And so there may be some small, whatever placebo, nocebo effect that is giving him a little bit of benefit because of how he perceives it.
Yeah, because he thinks it's helping him. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, in the end, over time, it won't be enough for sure.
Yeah, that effect is really strong when you start a plant-based diet, I would imagine, because you're just like, juicing all this fresh stuff you just picked up from the grocery store. You're really feeling good about things.
Yeah. Feel so good about yourself. Yeah, you're like, I'm healthy. I'm so doing moral. It right now.
And you're moral, so there's that. Oh my gosh, what's that documentary? Because I got to watch that.
Yeah, the rock climbing one.
What is it? Is it on Netflix?
It's Free Solo.
It was so good.
No, that's not the one. There's Free Solo. We've watched like 3 climbing documentaries. Back. Yeah, they're all really good.
The best one to watch is Meru, MERU.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because maybe that's something we could watch with the kids too.
All right. So I want to take a quick break because, I know we're all keto people and that's really cool. But let's talk about true crime.
Yeah,
because let's talk about murder.
Let's do it. That's really all I do all day.
Yeah, Maura's crazy because, I turned.
If I was ever under investigation, they'd be like, "It's her. Look at her podcast.
Look at her history.
Look at her."
Yeah, because we love Sword and Scale. Someone Knows Something. Dirty John. Over My Dead Body. Up and Vanish. Atlanta Monster.
We can keep doing this.
And Maura has a few others.
I have plenty.
But we can keep going. But we don't have all day. So I want to know what your favorites are and what do you recommend that we may be missing?
Yes, tell me.
Oh, so 2 that you're missing, maybe you listen to them though, is Generation Y. That's my all-time favorite.
Oh, yes. I've heard a few episodes. Generation Y. Yes.
Yeah, okay. That one's really good. And then True Crime Garage is like a very famous
one. That's a good one. Yeah, they always drink a beer and Maura doesn't like it as much because it's just
the format maybe.
Yeah, she likes to hear the interviews in the courtroom and the sounds and the screams of murder. Yeah.
I know. I hate the captain. Like he could just I'd be so happy.
One thing though, I got to recommend, because for me, there's like a few cases that really hooked me into the true crime, the whole thing. So Madeline McCann and the West Memphis 3. Those are the 2 that I listened to.
Yeah. I know the West Memphis 3.
Yeah, they're just so good. It could go either way. It's just like a lot of intricacies to the cases. I really love those.
And then what's my favorite one? I always forget.
Podcast?
Yeah, no, the one with
your favorite murder.
The Jokers. No, that is the worst podcast ever.
The Jokers? I don't know.
The crime and comedy.
My favorite murder?
Oh, Small Town Murder.
Small Town Murder is my favorite. Oh my God. They're comedians who tell the stories and it's hilarious. They just make fun of like the white trash and like they go into it. It's so funny. And then they tell like the crime, but that's definitely
lighthearted.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. It's my favorite.
That's awesome. That kind of is like, well, I'm definitely going to hear that one, but I also listened to one called My Favorite Murder, and it's these 2 girls and it's hysterical. That's the thing, is that it's so funny. Like the way that I don't know, it's wrong almost.
She told me that the interaction that they have.
It's just the interaction with the way that they are and just like the jokes that it's just really funny.
Yeah. We've listened to that one a few times.
Yeah. We hate that one because they are
you hate those girls?
Yeah, like
it's just such a long intro.
They're so self-absorbed. Like all they want to do is talk about themselves, and it's like, no, get to the crime. I want to
hear the crime.
Yeah, so
that's true. I can see that though. I can see that. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I fast forward.
Yeah, those are our favorite. Awesome. And then we love crime. You guys know that.
Yeah,
sure.
I know. I feel like it's a thing that's like a cult thing. Like whatever.
I mean, it's interesting for sure. And it's educational for sure. It's always the husband or the wife. I mean, it's always.
Yeah, I like being detective. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm like, I totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then I always find myself like, now I like stare at everyone. Like, I'm like, why are you looking at me? You're a murderer. Stop.
No, I know. There's a lot of people from like the church near us that come to our front door and they're like, hey, can I talk to you about like some verses or,
show me some ID.
Yeah, no, I know. Matt always answers the door and I'm just like sitting on the couch. And I'll be like, they could have just lied about being from the church nearby and like just forced you in the door and like killed. Like I'm constantly thinking about these scenarios because it's so easy to do that.
The scenario I think about the most is we do on Wednesdays, we do true crime stories while we eat. I always think like someone sneaks in and murders us live on YouTube. That's my.
That would be amazing. We would be so famous, but dead.
Oh, well, Danny's going to leave on Thursday, which will be fun for me because every time he leaves, I'm like, oh, for sure. This is when I'm going to be murdered.
And you have the shotgun, so.
Yeah. I have the shotgun, but I don't Hold on. Let me get it.
Yeah, right.
Don't kill me yet. Let me figure out how to use it. Don't kill me.
Yeah, she hasn't shot the shotgun. That's the problem. But I showed you how to do it.
Yeah, it can't be that hard. I'll just.
I think that'll be scary enough.
I have it. Yeah, I have it out of the shotgun. I have in an area that's out of reach to them and out of their sight and unloaded. And then the gun is put the 9mm put away again, also locked away. But the shotgun, I think, like you said, the just it's a freaking Mossberg.
That's what Danny's dad is so dramatic. He's like, Maura, you just grab the shotgun, and he's like, and you just and just that sound alone should send people running.
But we'll have you shoot it because shooting a shotgun's fun.
Yeah, awesome.
There's like an app for your phone that makes that sound now.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So you go hunting, right? What is a 9mm for?
The 9mm was a gift from my dad several years ago. It was kind of like, hey, take this. Now I don't have my concealed carry yet because I passed the course. So I need to get the actual concealed carry because I think I'm going to start carrying. So the 9mm would be just a self-defense thing to not be. It's just, that's another thing in the last year or so that I've been really concerned with is like being unprepared. So the jiu-jitsu is part of that. And then the gun would be the other thing. And just the boys, the most important thing is that the boys have the fear of God put into them, like for a long time on gun safety. And Desmond wants to start shooting. So I have been trying to sign him up for this kids gun safety course because they have a homeschool group that goes to the range where I go. And, he can't go until he does this course, but it's been really hard trying to get the people to give me the schedule. I've been doing that since like December. So eventually we're going to get him there. And it's just education is the key to everything. I think when you're educated, you're less freaked out about it and you have more respect for it. It's the same thing with, the food. Like once you know about harvesting an animal, you're less icked out about it and you're more like, this is a part of life. And so I'd rather go that way than the other way because I've just you don't hardly ever see a situation where someone who was raised around these things used them the wrong way. It's usually like a lack of familiarity. Hey, look what I found. There you go. I mean,
yeah. No, that's actually really great. I honestly though didn't peg you for the carrying type. Danny prepared, like Danny has snacks on him,
I got that one taken care of. That one's good.
That one's taken care of, yeah. So funny. All right, fine. Let's get back to nutrition. Fine. I could talk about like this murder stuff all day, really.
Yes, you can.
I can. All right. So we're more open with the way that we feed our boys than we are with ourselves. Like they're more paleo. They have, we let them eat more fruit than we would eat. But we definitely have certain non-negotiables as a family that we avoid at all times. Have you guys thought about that? Especially with the baby coming, and if so, what that list would look like?
We honestly have not thought about that too much. I don't think it's ever been discussed, but I think we subconsciously just agree upon some non-negotiable things. I mean, nothing for our kid, I would say, is non-negotiable because I want them to experience, the human experience, like Snickers bars. That's kind of part of it to me.
Halloween,
you can have those once in a while.
Yeah, like a trick-or-treating night.
Yeah, something like that.
Or kids party and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, our boys go ham on Halloween, because we don't let. And you know what? Honestly, the fact that they don't eat it all the time, it's so much more special to them. We were in Ohio, in Cleveland this year, trick-or-treating, and man, it was freezing and it was raining, and these boys were like, we're trick-or-treating. They did not care. They were suffering, poor things. And I'm like, are you guys okay? They're like, oh yeah, we're fine. Yeah. Like they're doing it for the candy. They did it for the candy.
Yeah, I remember that. But as far as like other non-negotiables, like our kids aside, like if Matt came to me and he was like, yo, I want a donut from Dunkin' Donuts, like he's a grown man, I'm going to be like, go for it. Like enjoy it. Maybe let's put it on Instagram, your reaction, how you're feeling afterwards, something like that.
Right.
Versa, like, I don't know. I
think for me, just knowing, like referencing my childhood, it would have been nice to not think like, Fruity Pebbles is a healthy part of breakfast, like kind of things like that. I don't want to have my kids thinking because I really like had a reliance on them from as a child. So that would be good. Like just basically cooking from home, like educating them a little bit on what's a nutritious breakfast, what's more of a treat, and not getting those things mixed up, I think is important because like for me growing up, it was like Fruity Pebbles for breakfast and then some kind of chips, just kind of kicking it on the couch at night. That was just an everyday thing. And that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, we actually had a podcast a long time ago, maybe like a year ago, with the CEO of Zevia, and he has 2 girls, and he would do a sugar budget with them. So like, I feel like we would implement a similar thing. So like, if we were in the store and our son was like, "Hey, mom, like those Fruity Pebbles look fun. I want to get those." I'd be like, "All right, let's take it off the shelf and let's go to something else that has maybe similar macros, and let's compare them and say like, would you want this and this, like this plus a banana, or do you want just the Fruity Pebbles?"
I also worry about that being like having ripple effects down the road.
Like,
too,
are they going to be scared to like share food with us? Like they're going to be like, "Oh, now I have to hide from mom and dad." Everything has an effect on them. Yeah.
We have that concern because like, it was almost right when they started really being keto, like it was like 2 years ago. And I found Dean under the table at a Cuban restaurant eating fries, and I'm like, aww. I was heartbroken.
But Danny was way more strict at that point, and I was like, dude, chill.
Yeah, but I told them in the car because I didn't. We always said it's your body, eat what you want. But then, of course, there's also I'm a little bit worse with it. I'm a little bit. Yeah. It's true. I'm more strict, and in the car, I was like, listen, you guys aren't going to be bad people if you eat fries. It doesn't make you a bad person. Now, if you ask me if it's the right nutritional choice, I'm going to tell you no, but it's still your body, and they've stopped asking us, can I eat this? Can I eat that? Because they know that by now, but it's definitely something that you got to always be aware of, especially at the younger years when they're so into like pleasing you, they want to please us and they want to tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah. But I definitely you got to let them, you don't want to make them feel like alienated, like, look, Dean went to get a haircut the other day and he grabbed like 3 dum-dums, like the lollipops, they always give the kids lollipops. I'm not going to have the freaking lollipop. Like, who cares? Yeah. Enjoy it. Have another one. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's
when we're home, it's not.
Yeah, when we're home, this is how we eat most of the time, and it's a priority. And then, yes, when it's a birthday party, fine, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like a tough problem to solve.
I wish it was so easy for that to like be implemented into our own lives, because like I feel like as adults, or like for me at least, like we were really strict in the beginning, a lot more stricter than we are right now. And it felt so depriving. Like I felt like I was torturing myself. I was like, I can't have that. Like I'll feel guilty and I'll feel like shit. And like, I want to be able to like make choices and just make the choice, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I felt like I wasn't as capable of doing that at the start though.
Yeah.
This whole process was necessary.
Sure. That's true.
It's true. It's just with the kids, it's even more because it's like, again, especially when they get to school age. And I think that's a perfect segue because you guys kind of hinted at it, but now I want to kind of know because you're going to be parents. And by the way, sorry for almost ruining that surprise. By the way, I totally.
How did you almost ruin it?
Well, okay. In my defense, when they had me on like a month ago, they were talking about when we have our baby and blah blah blah, and I was like, I just automatically assumed that they had told everyone, and someone made a comment about Mega being pregnant, and then Mega's like, hey, we haven't told anybody yet. I was like, oh dang. And then so I had to I think there was like a post that I did that I had to edit.
Gosh, Danny.
I'm the worst when it comes to this stuff. So but have you guys had it's obvious it seems like you have conversations on, how you plan on raising them or where they're going to get their education. And keep in mind that we know that you don't have to be as crazy as we are, but I think we can all agree that it's important for you two to be on the same page.
Yeah.
That's
Well, one thing I think we're pretty good at getting on the same page. We present evidence to why we think this is good. And then the other person looks at it. So
public all the way.
Yeah, we're thinking public school, but a lot of that's probably just because we were raised in public schools. And I like the idea of just some adversity, getting in fights. I think you need to do that.
That person's doing drugs in the bathroom. Yeah. Like I had, it's like, you want the exposure, or we want the exposure for our child, and then they come home and we like vet their friends. I'm going to be very strict, like boyfriends, friends. I am vetting, and I'm saying no if I want to say no.
That's very interesting because my parents,
because of the true crime.
What was that?
And no sleepovers because of the true crime.
Oh, no, no, that we don't play those games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mom vetted my friends pretty hardcore, and I hated it at the time, but now I'm realizing what a huge benefit that was, because you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. And my friends are like the biggest example of that. So I think that can be definitely good to do. I mean, like, you don't want them hanging out with losers.
No, I mean, look at our lives now. Look at who we've chosen to be in a relationship with. I think that's a big indicator of our friends growing up.
One other force that I know is at play, because I rebel against my parents in a lot of subtle ways, is that they're going to rebel against us. So that's what I'm mostly concerned with about like all the diet stuff.
Dude, we talk about that all the time. We're like, what if they're like hardcore vegans and they want to go to like church camp every summer? Like, what are we going to do? Like, are we going to say, sure, go for it?
I think you got to, right?
No, but we can say no, I think, until they're 18.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I haven't looked into a lot, but is interesting, is like more of the hands-on versus hands-off parenting as they grow up. I know nothing about it, but that seems like interesting to look into.
Yeah, you guys are more, what would you say, hands-off, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and if you're very interested and you want a really, really good read, you got to read. What is it called? Free Range Kids by Lenore Skenazy. We actually are really going to try to get her on our podcast. She is one of the funniest people. She was labeled America's worst mom because she let her 9-year-old find his way home on the subway in New York. But like, she dropped him off at Bloomingdale's. Like, I'm sorry. To me, there's safety in numbers. Like,
I know. And in the book, you talk about data. Like, she's giving statistics.
She's given lots of data. Yeah. Actually, our parents are the crazy ones for letting us ride our bikes in our neighborhoods alone, because that's when child abduction was actually at a high.
The highest.
But we actually live in a very safe time right now. So, but I listen to a lot of true crime, so it gets in the way of my free range parenting sometimes, because I'm like, gosh, it's like
when the sun starts to go down, we're a little bit more like, guys, come back from the park.
Just because it's like a weird time, but like I'll let Desmond walk home from the mailbox, and like he likes to do that, or walk to around the block, But it depends, I feel like it depends on the situation, like you're not going to go down Brandon Boulevard by yourself. It depends, it depends on the neighborhood you live in. So but yeah, we're definitely more hands off. I definitely think this whole helicopter parenting thing, I mean, if you just look around at some of the young adults these days, they're very fragile. And, you've got like mommy calling in for like job interviews, and like, that's not acceptable.
College professors. It's crazy.
Don't climb up the slide. Like, why not let your kid climb up the slide? Or like, I see moms pulling down children from ladders, like in these very safe playgrounds. By the way, the playgrounds we had were very dangerous. Yeah. Now they're very safe with all the cushion. Yeah. And like, I'll see like this, a totally capable child climb up a ladder, and a mom pull them down. Don't do that. I'm like, but he did already. He looked. He already did it.
You got to learn from like falling down a little bit, right?
You got to let them get hurt. That's how they learn. You got to let them get
as long hurt. As like what we say, we don't risk life or limb. Like when it looks like they're gonna be amputated or crack their head open.
Like you're not gonna let a baby play with a razor blade,
Yeah. Okay.
Are you gonna force them into like sports? Like, what if they're both like, nah, I just want to stay home and like?
Oh no, we force them.
With jujitsu, we forced them. So we paid a year in advance for both. So we asked them. We had them agree.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Before we pulled the trigger, we had a conversation with them. Like, look, I'm about to drop, a G on each of you almost. Yeah. And, so.
Are you going to commit? Like, we don't break our commitments. So that's the thing. We don't break our promises. We don't break our commitments. So they committed to a year. And so when they complain, I'm like, okay, well, you can either complain for a year or you could work hard.
By the time, then the reason why we did that is that by the time a year rolls around, they're going to be so much better. And like, yesterday, Desmond got headbutted at the end of his jiu-jitsu. Blood everywhere. He's crying. And like, I was just like, look, just think of this scenario right here. There's a bully. He's bigger than you. He's never actually gotten into a fight because he's bigger than people. You get punched in the face twice a week in striking class, and you get headbutted and you get submitted, 4 times a week in jiu-jitsu. If he hits you, this is going to be just like class. Like if you hit him, you're going to shock him. And that's confidence, you know? And like when it comes to, I think jiu-jitsu is one of those things where it really does build confidence because you're familiar with the situation. You're like, oh, this is like class. I just got punched in the face. It's nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I think we're going to force them into sports.
Absolutely.
The default is just sitting at home playing video games, right?
Yeah.
And it's the easiest thing. It's going to happen. They're going to want to do it. The video games are going to find them. So it's like you might as well put some other stuff in their life to kind of counterbalance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that stuff is important too. You know, like we let them play with iPads and stuff because obviously this is a future. They should learn how to code and do all these things. But, you know, if I find them that they're just like staring at the YouTube.
This week we're doing no TV or iPads. We do that every now and then for like a week in a row. And it really is awesome because we can shoot the air rifle, we can read, we can do other stuff, play board games. And it's just like we sleep better, the family connects better. And it just reminds them that they don't need to be connected to the screen because the more you let them, it's crazy, man. It's like a slippery slope.
Yeah. You just don't make a big deal out of it. I'm just like, hey, look, it's a nice day. You want to go ride your bike? You know, I kind of just like trick them.
They're always, our neighbors like,
sure.
I always see your son like at 7:30, 8 in the morning, you know, riding his bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, just it sounds really fun that you guys can just like make up these rules. You're like, you wake up and you're like, we're going to do this today. And then you just force the boys to do it. I really love that. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love that. All right. So you guys have made like, I don't know, like 5 million recipes. And you guys have put those together over the last several years. And I'm sure this is really hard to answer, but we're really curious to see what each of your favorite recipes would be if you had to pick.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think so. It's not the best tasting recipe, but it's like a nice middle ground where I'm comfortable eating it after dinner every night and it tastes pretty good. It's like avocado chocolate brownies, or you can also make them into cookies. Meg actually made it for me for my birthday. It was like a big cookie cake. But that's like a nice middle ground where it doesn't use like a crazy ton amount of like almond flour or erythritol. Pretty much whole foods. So I like that one right now.
That sounds great.
This is a tough one because like I always want to say something dessert, but like I'm more of a savory person. So like I like egg roll in a bowl. Like I like something like that. So like the Asian, and then just cabbage is really easy on my stomach, and then just like a ton of meat. So I think that's what I would say.
That sounds like my jam. I got to make that because I love cabbage. Yeah, like that's one of the only like veggies that I eat freely.
Yeah, whenever I make it, she's
so
like going into it for sure.
I love it.
All right, so we are getting to the end, and I wanted to just give you guys, I know this is a tough one. We talked about this beforehand. You're like, hitting us with the hard hitters. But, you know, you guys are seriously leaders. And I think it's just so cool because it's just refreshing because you guys are always real. And it's just there's no thought in between when I ask you and when you answer. There's just like, is this going to be the right answer? No, you just speak from your mind. And I love that. And so I wanted to ask you guys, if you had the attention of everyone in the world right now, what would be your piece of advice to them?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go more grand scale and not nutrition at all because you have everyone's attention. You got to go big.
Yeah.
So what has made the biggest impact in my life is like deferral of like indulgence, basically. You're thinking more long term and you're not so worried because as humans, we're so just like close-minded. Like we want quick results. We want the 10-day detox, the 14-day cleanse, you know, the juice fast, all that type of stuff. Thinking, just waking up, doing something boring that's going to get you further tomorrow. Then the next day, same thing, 1% improvement each and every day. And eventually you look back and you really got somewhere. Like think about something that you are an expert at right now and think back to like the first time you ever tried it, what the process is like to get where you are today. And I think a lot of people, I guess it is kind of diet related. When they first look at a keto diet, it's like very daunting. They do all this research on the internet. They think you got to like check all these boxes when really you don't have to do a keto diet. You just have to slowly improve your nutrition day after day. Just get 1% better each day. That's the big thing. And keep it consistent because there's days when you wake up, you don't want to get 1% better that day. Those are the days you have to do it the most.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love that. I love that.
And then for me, not just really big scale. I think one quote that really stayed with me for a long time when I read the book. I think it's The Pursuit of Happiness, or The Happiness Pursuit.
Happiness of Pursuit.
Yeah. And the quote is, act the way you want to feel. And so for a while afterwards, every time I fought with Matt, I would be like, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel shitty. I don't want to feel mad at Matt. I want to be happy. So I would just force myself to be like, hey, I want to feel good. I would go over, I'd hug him. I would just reconcile. Cause like, what's the point of feeling stressed and unhappy? So, making a choice to just act the way you want to feel, and like not being so sensitive and stressed, and like just stop and like relax. Like, we were at the Metabolic Health Summit, and even Mark Sisson was like, it's a diet, guys. Like, just, be happy. There's so much more to life than just like, hitting your macros and keeping your carbs low. Like, just be happy and find things in life that make you happy and drive you. There's so much more out there,
I love that. Love both of those.
Yeah. I gotta say, what were you saying, Matt?
Oh, I was going to say, did you read Mastery yet?
I haven't finished it, but I'm probably a little bit more than halfway through. Yeah. And when you were talking, man, I was gonna, that's the first thing I was gonna say, is that you reminded me of that, because I love it because it identifies, all of our tendencies. Cause like it says in the book, like, you may not be the hacker. You may be the hacker in some situations. You may be the obsessive in some situations. And it's good to know, because it's almost like preparing you mentally for that next plateau when the feelings go away or when things get hard. I love that idea. And I think we've all been kind of on this mindset journey, all of us, in the last couple of years, where it's like, follow that process, do it day in and day out. And it's true, man. It just, over time, it just builds up. Yeah.
It's so true. I love that.
If it happened overnight, everyone would be doing it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. And that's like especially with like something like the gym, that's like the perfect example. People just see the physique, and they don't see that it's the same exact thing every single day. You know what I mean? Like every single day, even the days and like, I don't want to go every day. I just do, because that's what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's what I love when you adopt something new, and at first it's super hard, and then it just becomes a part of your life. And then you build up all these things that at one time were difficult. Now they're just a part of your life. Like, I can edit a YouTube video in 30 minutes nowadays. When I first did it, it was like a day-long process.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm still at the day.
No, we're still at the week long.
I posted
we don't even edit. We're like, let's just not even do these vlogs.
No, dude, I posted a video a few weeks ago that was from April. April of last year. Yeah.
We'll get there. But that's like mainly like a time management problem. Like, we just don't have enough hours in the day.
We don't make time for it, because that's what got you guys where you are. It's kind of, that consistency. I mean, I got to give you guys that, man. Gosh,
it's putting out that content.
Every time because I don't get notifications, but I do get them for YouTube. And so when you guys put out a new video, I'm like, there's another one. I mean, and it's just like really good stuff. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. This is going to be a crazy one, because I doubt there's anybody that's listening to this that doesn't know. But where can people find you, and what's going on? What's the next
new
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, KetoConnect.net. That's the home base, food blog, recipes, bunch of stuff there. Keto Connect on YouTube and keto.connect on Instagram. But what we're working on, I guess we got a second cookbook coming out in a few months.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And a couple big, more grander scheme things. Can't really say much about them yet, but hopefully big stuff in the future.
Yeah.
We got a baby too. So
the baby's the big one.
Baby's coming.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. We love you guys. We're so happy for you, and we're just super excited to be joined in this parenthood thing, because there's not that many of us that are kind of doing this full time and have kids. So it's good to have safety in numbers. I was just talking to Suzanne Ryan about it at this event we did together this weekend, and it's like, the struggle. It's the struggle of being a parent. It's like, are you going to KetoCon? No, I can't find, it's expensive for me to get a babysitter for that amount of time, So it's like, new challenges to address, but it makes you the best version of yourself. You guys are about to step it up even more as far as like the quality of humans that you are, because kids just make you awesome.
Yeah, they force you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys going to KetoCon, by the way?
I'll be like 8 months pregnant, so I don't know if I'll show up. Yes, but maybe Matt will go on his own. But like, it's funny, you know, my mom will sometimes say, like, she's like, "Oh, are you gonna go or is Matt gonna go?" I'm like, no one wants to see just one of us, Mom. Like, we're
so true.
Yeah,
connect exactly.
It's just keto or connect, whichever one is.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, you might feel you might feel up to it. It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
Not for getting on a plane though.
Yeah, it depends how
after
like
7 months. Supposedly, I think they say you're not.
That's what they
to.
say. You know.
I
don't know who they is,
yeah.
But, okay.
I heard.
I'm like, from who? Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We found a place safe. Oh no, we've come so far, but you've always been my home. I know it's dark, 'cause one of us just let it go. You let it go, let it go. You said in my heart. You let it go, let it go. You said if I can count on you. We've come